Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was watching a woman carrying 3 pints of beer. She did not spill a drop. Congratulations to you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out on a Friday night. I can tell none of you have social lives. I am very proud to hear it. My name is Kerry Finch, and I'm the founding partner at Future Factor. And we are a company that works with brands and helps them cut through the noise so that they have purposeful impact. And we do that around the world. Hello, thank you for waving. And we do that around the world. Oh, it wasn't at me. Okay. And we do that around the world for brands, through communication strategy, through content, and through PR. I also wear another hat, which is I am the Cannes Lions representative for the festival for the Netherlands, and I'm proudly a member of the board for the ADCN. Tonight, I'm here because I'm the founder for SheSays in Amsterdam, and with my teamsters, Maxime and Kate, we love putting on these events 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. So thank you so much for coming out. We really, really appreciate it. Who's been to a SheSays event before in their life? Show of hands. Who's never, ever, ever been? Hooray, you are so welcome. Give yourselves a round of applause for bothering to come out on a Friday. Now, you can social media-rise the heck out of it. Here are your tags around the room. And if you click on Insta or Facebook, you'll also be led to our mailing list. Please join it. We love having friends. So please use the hashtags and the ats and the everythings. It's always very much appreciated. What are we doing? Why are we here? So SheSays is a global organization, and there are many different chapters around the world, and we are the organizers of Amsterdam. Now, SheSays basically helps encourage debate, encourage learning, encourage mentorship for women around the world, and each chapter does things slightly differently. Our way is that everybody and anybody is welcome, but it's women who go on stage. So you can be why are you laughing? No, really? I will talk with you later, young lady. So round of giggles for the men and the women and the giraffes in the room. Everybody's welcome. Only women on stage. Cue laughter. And what are we doing tonight? We are looking at different ways of perceiving. So we're having a lesson on looking. So it's about how you make, shape, and shift perspective. And we have 4 fantastic speakers this evening from different walks of life, from filmmaking, from speaker coaching, we have an editor, and we have a stylist consultant as well. So we've got a lot of different perspectives on how to make, break, and reshape your perspective in all sorts of different ways. First up, I'd love to introduce to you Judith Brown, and thank you. She's giving me a thumbs up because I can do a Dutch accent. Ongelooflijk niet te geloven. And Judith is here with us because she is a speaker coach, and she's also an author. But in her life, she's been a skipper, she's a fantastic cook, apparently, and she's been a TV presenter for many, many years here in the Netherlands. So please welcome onto the stage, Judith Brown.
Thank you. Well, good evening to you all. Yeah, it's nice to be among you. I'm just going to have a better look, see who's here. All nice women, some nice men. Very good. I hear some of you are from the creative industry, but you've probably come from all paths of life. And I guess you all have visions, ideas, knowledge, opinions which you love to share with each other or with your family or at work. But my question is, would you be willing to share those ideas here on a big stage? Well, it's my mission in life, well, one of my missions, to encourage people, and tonight especially women, to take a stand on a stage to say what they have to say. And maybe if you're older, you think you're really knowledgeable, but if you're younger, you also have ideas and opinions and things you would like to say about life, yourself, each other, the world. And I think it would be good if you would, because we need a bit of counterweight to the Kim Kardashians and the Boris Johnsons of this world, don't we? You know, we need role models. We need women who get up and speak for themselves. So, but I can imagine it's a bit of a thing, because who of you looks at this stage? Well, let me get off and give you the full view. Who of you looks at this and thinks, "Oh, I wish I would be there"? Raise your hand. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, great. I'll come back to you later. Who of you thinks, well, not me. I get sort of pain in my stomach when I think of me being there. Thank you for your honesty. Very well. The thing is just what is, and I'd like to hear from you, what is scary about it? Could you name a thing? What is scary about a stage? Other people's opinions, thank you. What else?
Being filmed and quoted out of context.
Well, I would like to encourage them to speak up, Iran.
Being filmed and quoted out of context.
Just because of the thing, I missed that.
Being filmed and quoted out of context.
Being filmed and quoted out of context. There's some bad experiences there. What else? What's scary about this place? Yeah. Yeah, you have to, yes. So the thing is, would this stage be still scary if the room was empty? No, probably not. You just walk there and think, oh, stage, I'm going to walk, oh, what does it look like? Oh, it's interesting. So is it the stage that is scary, or is it the audience that is scary? It's the audience, huh? Well, now for tonight, I mean, this is a quite scary audience, I think. And I would like to ask you to stand up and look around you and look at all the scary faces around you. Maybe shake hands with someone you don't know yet, because we're here to meet each other. Hi.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Sophie. I'm Judith.
Hi, what's your name?
Hello.
Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica. Hi, nice to meet you. Well, I'll have the whole front row then.
Yeah.
Hi. So that's maybe a lesson number one, that if you know the audience and the audience knows each other, it's less of a scary audience. So my advice would be create the audience that you like. Simple, isn't it? But what is it? Why is it also scary to be on a stage like this? Because we have a very old brain. You know, mainly we have a reptile brain, we have a mammal brain, we have a human brain. It's all wrapped over each other. And if I go and stand here, or if you would, you separate from the group, which is a very unwise idea from a very evolutionary perspective. You know, we depend on the group for safety. You know, we are social beings, so the social being part of our brain is a very old and very strong brain as part. So the minute you walk away from a group and you separate yourself from it, it has these sort of alert danger signs, which can be quite physically. But we tend to think about, well, I'm insecure, or I make an issue of people, I should be more so-and-so. It's bullshit in a way. You can't really do much about that impulse. It's whether you want to listen to it or not, but the impulse will come because we separate from a group. But there's one position which is very acceptable on a stage in relation with a group, and that is the position of the leader. There's always a group and a leader. So if you take up the position of a leader, you can be part of the group, have a function in a group, but you have just a different position. And once you are on a stage, whether you like it or not, you are the leader. Because you are in my realm for the next 20 minutes. And I sort of do what I like to do, and you sit and you go along, so I lead. And that sounds very easy, but of course an audience must also give you the opportunity to lead. And if these instincts or impulses of this mammal brain grab you by the throat while you are here, you will express all sorts of confusing signals for your audience. Like you draw up your shoulders, or your breath becomes a little bit shallow. You start breathing a bit more. You start talking very rapidly. You start fidgeting with your things. You start hiding yourself. You do all sorts of things that express to the mammal part of the audience, this is not a leader I'm safe with. Right? It's a very belly kind of thing that people just don't like the tension either. So if someone is really nervous on stage, your audience will want to get away from that because either it irritates them, and some people get rowdy, or they want to interfere, or they go into a discussion with you, certain type of people. Other people just dive away. Other people feel sorry for you, and they want to help you. Either way, there's lots of things going on in those brains what you don't want, because you would like them to listen to you. You want to get your message across. So, what can you do to be more at ease on a stage? That's the big question, isn't it? Well, first of all, I think it should be your message which is more important than yourself. The reason why you get on the stage is not because you want to get on the stage. The reason is that you want to use the opportunity to reach out to a big audience to say something that you think is very important. And somehow this need to express yourself should exceed sort of overthrow the fear in you. But there's also, of course, a few tricks I can teach you. And hang on. When it comes to a sort of natural leadership, which is not about being the boss, not formal leadership, but informal leadership, the way that people want to follow you and listen to you, I think the concept of charisma is a very interesting concept. And I read a great book about this, which I wrote a book too, but it's in Dutch. So then read this book. It's called The Charisma Myth by an author called Olivia Fox-Cabane, American writer. And the myth is that either you have it or you don't. These Americans, they look at successful people and they see the most successful traits and they do 3 things and then they write a book about it. But still, it's a good book. It's a very good book. So what she says is she sees 3 things in people that are charismatic. And charismatic is like, you don't have to do that much in order for people to sort of follow you. You don't have to put a lot of pressure. You don't need a lot of words. Somehow people perceive you as a leader and they are willing to follow your lead. So without too much hassle, you can take people along. But there are 3 things you have to do or have to be, I think, in order for that to happen. So the first one she speaks about is presence. So you have to be present. Which means you don't think about your next slide. You think about here and now and what's happening. You sort of register the things that go on in your own body. Like I feel my knees are shaking a little bit. And I feel it's also a bit of pressure on my chest. I'm not immune to nervousness. But it could also be that something happening is in the room, which has nothing to do with you, but is important in a way. But also in conversations, whether it's with someone at work or the cashier or at the Albert Heijn. Can you be present? Can you look at people, see what's happening, register the signals? So the alertness and the being there is an important part of charisma, and also the attention you give to someone. If you listen, if you respond well to signals, people feel seen and heard, and they get attention, and that's something we all need. Now, the second thing that she says is important is power. And again, not power in the way that you have a formal high position somewhere, but you express through your whole being and a type of power. And this is, again, a very animalistic thing, because, well, what kind of movement would you think of when you think of power? Could you make a movement that sort of expresses power? Well, it's a gorilla girl in the back. Well, it's a very, she goes like this. You wouldn't go like this, would you? You go like this. So it's a power move. And why is that? Because you take up more space. So if you want to add some power elements to your presentation or to your being on a stage, you try to take up more space. And it could be the stage itself, that you think, this is my room. This is my space. I'm not confined to this table where I should stand all evening to look at my PowerPoint because that's so important. No, I should be the one who's at ease here and should take up space. Well, the other element of space is whether I use my arms. Would I use them like this? Or like that? Now, this could be a bit too much, but you see that the more you move your hands outside of your body, it's very simple, more space you take. And it could also be about the way you stand. I gave this example before because I often see a lot of women, when they present, they go and stand like that. It's not a good thing, because you sort of make yourself very, very small. And someone else perceives that you want to make yourself very small. So where are you then if you want to be a leader on a stage? And also the other thing is that you're holding yourself. You're embracing yourself, probably because you need someone to hold you at that moment when it's also scary, and the only one that can do that is yourself. So you hold yourself. So you shouldn't, you should try and use your whole body. So that's taking up space. But it could also be about volume and time. Like very, very important people, like presidents, they will say, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a very special night. It is a night you will remember. Well, I'm just saying something, but the pauses give you the idea that this is really something big that's being said. Yeah, so you just sort of pause, because in a way you say, I take up time as much as I want. I will not be hurried. I see a lot of people who present who just speak very fast, mainly because they think very fast, or because they think the faster I talk, the sooner I'll be out of here. And your audience will feel that you are not at ease because you're really rushing and you want to get out. So that second part of charisma, power, is about taking up space, whether it is literally the space in the room, the space in your body, and also the space in time and maybe in volume. And the third one is warmth. And the warmth is about the thing that you as an audience feel that I say something that will be in your best interest. Do you feel like I only go after my own interest, or do you genuinely feel that I have something to say that would be in your interest too? So if I'm present, if I'm really here, and I express some sort of power, and you feel that I'm not fooling around with you, but I'm genuine, then you will be quite willing as an audience to move along. So that's it. Now we're going to practice. Because I would like to show you how because I think your relation with the audience is made like in the first second. They always say first impression, and Selena, who's our stylist tonight, she will know more than anyone else about that. But this first moments is where your audience sort of feels like, what's this going to be like? So for instance, if I would walk up like this, you have a certain idea of the type of person I will be. Like, what word comes to mind? Aggressive. Aggressive? A gangster? Wow.
I promise.
I didn't know I have it in me.
I promise to stop walking like that.
It's just the boots. It's not you, Carrie. It's just... yeah, or it could be... just a bit uninterested. Well, there are many ways that your way of walking has something to say. The way you pick the spot on the stage has something to say. The way you either look or don't look at your audience this is all communication. And we process that very fast and very quickly and on a very subconscious level, and we either feel safe or we don't. So I would like to practice with a few of you, the ones who raised their hands before. Maybe 2 or 3 could come onto the stage, and we're just going to have a sort of masterclass idea. Yeah, she's ready for it, I can see. Yeah, and I want women. Sorry, man, I want women tonight. En wie ben jij?
Christina.
This is Christina. She's our first guinea pig. Let's
Who's our second guinea pig?
Christina. Well, we're going to do a little bit more than just you, right?
Come and join them on stage.
Another, yeah, Christina and
Joya.
Joya.
Nice to meet you.
Wow. Well, it's the 3 graces, so we should need one more. Oh, very good. Oh, she was going to. You can do that. Oh, Lily?
Yeah.
Lily, Joya, and Christina. Now, if you come on this side, Christina, because this is sort of where we enter the stage. So I'm just gonna show you how it's done, and you're gonna have a look and see how the audience responds and what they feel and what they say. Maybe do it again. It's just giving it a try. Okay. So this is sort of we imagine this is the where normally the curtains would be of a stage. So this is sort of the place where you have privacy and you can still relax. And it's very important that when you're here, you sort of rub off the stress, because we don't want to bring the stress into the room, right? So we'll do that later. And then in the walking, there should be enthusiasm and relaxation at the same time. Yeah? So you stay here. So it's not very hard. It's just you just walk. You just walk, and you don't look at your audience when you walk, because you want to be concentrated on your walk, and you're there. And when you pick a spot where you want to stand. It doesn't matter where it is. It's just that you know that's my spot. Once you go and stand there, that's it. And once you stand there, you have a look around. You see, hey, who's here? And you take a breath. Because by the time you might have brushed off your nervousness there, but it'll come creeping back onto you in that walk, So you're here, you breathe and breathe out. And then you smile, you say, good evening. So,
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, could I have a big applause for our first guinea pig, Joya? Go.
Good evening.
Yay! Now there is one great smile, huh? Yeah. There's one thing I would like to, for a bigger effect, that this was about the time thing and the power, that once you stand here, don't go speaking too fast. So you first you sort of, good evening. Yeah, it gives more of a, yeah. So we'll do once more, yeah? Just to see how that works, you know. It's great that they are willing to show you what happens and how you feel, is because it is your job to bring relaxation to your audience.
Okay.
Yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, Joya!
Good evening.
Yeah, very good. Well, if you want, you can sit down in that great chair. It's there anyway. So you could even stretch it a little bit more that time. See if it's because that's the scary thing, to stand in front of an audience and you don't say anything, and the audience doesn't say anything. But if you can overcome that, you know, you can do anything. So brush it off. Yeah, lovely. Okay. And now for our second guinea pig of this show, could I have a really big applause for Christina?
Good evening.
Good evening. Now for you, we're just going to add a little bit of pepper and salt, right? Because, the dish is good, it just needs a bit of seasoning.
Pepper and salt.
Your what?
It's pepper and salt.
It's pepper and salt, your hair. Yeah, well, so is mine. So if you say good evening, could you just use a bit more voice? Yeah, so really, here I am.
Okay. I usually speak to a mic.
Well, it's a big challenge now, right? No. Good evening. It's not that big, the room, you know. Just sort of, yeah. Get them. Christina.
Good evening.
Well, a little bit more, right?
Louder.
Louder.
Good evening.
Yes, very good. Thank you. So now, Lily, you've seen the trick, and I can see you're sort of really eager, aren't you?
Are you sure about that? No, I'm okay.
Yeah?
I'm okay, yes.
Good.
Okay.
Well, here we go. Last guinea pig, Lily.
Well, good evening.
Good evening, yeah. Now this really, you do the walk really good, you stand there, you have this big smile. It's just wait a little bit longer, see what happens, see if they really, you have to leave that applause until everything's gone down. And when it's really silent, when you feel you have everyone's attention, that is when you will speak. So we're going to give a good applause, let it last long, so we really challenge her for this moment. Yeah. Yeah, take your time, huh? Stretch it. Okay, Lily. Shh. No. You feel it, right?
I'm too early again.
Yeah, you want to have one more try?
No.
Yeah, I want you to know what it feels like. Go on, you can do it. Yeah, it's also like, can you enjoy the fact that they're applauding for you? That you think, oh wow, this is really a nice applause from me. Sounds really good. Oh right, well, good evening. So this sort of enjoyment. So for the third time, Lily, take your time, baby. Here is Lily. Yay! Woohoo! She looks so good, yeah. Well, thank you very much, ladies. They did really well. They got onto the stage, and I hope when it comes to it, you also have something sensible to say, because that's what it's all about. Could I have an applause for Joya, Christine, and Lily? Okay, you can go now. So it's just a small example, but I hope you see what it does when you walk on a stage, relaxed, and you have time for your audience. And there's some expression of, because you saw that with every one of them, there is presence by just waiting and being there. There is power from taking the time you want. And there's also warmth because, the smile and the enjoyment. And that are the three ingredients of charisma that might be of help for you. Well, so this is what I meant, and also by the introduction of how you can be a director of your own audience. Because when your audience is at ease, because they have seen you as a leader and you see you can handle the situation, then we can just move together almost anywhere. And also because in your brain there are these mirroring neurons. And if I go like that, I see you smiling. So you're sort of, your brain works that way. And if I get very much into my own story, because I'm thinking, what am I going to do next? And will they like me? My attention goes from the audience into myself. And that's why I put this picture there with the U-turn. The attention should not be, you shouldn't be worrying about yourself. You shouldn't be talking to yourself like, I can do this, I'm okay. It's just not where you should be. Your attention should be in your audience and how they are doing and what you would like to bring to them or what you would like to give to them. And also, so this mission that you have, what you want to talk about, the audience that you really want to give this present to, that's where all your attention should be. And for me, it helps when I get on a stage, there's something in me that says, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure it's good. I'm normally not a speaker. I'm a conference host. So I think I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make this a good day. So try to take away all the thoughts about yourself. Because, you have to go and stand here in the middle if you want to say something. But it's not actually about you. You don't go there because you want to be appreciated. You don't go there because you want to perform well. You go there because you have something to say that you think everybody should hear or that is helpful for people. And you should be here because you want to give something. And if that is your way of thinking, all the worrying about yourself, also knowing that this is just this old mammal brain sort of babbling about, should sort of just disappear into the background. And then I think you could be all great on a stage. And I hope that you won't be bothered by your fear or your thoughts about yourself. And you just go on there because you think, I have something worth saying. Now, I would like to end with something that always brings me a lot of fun. And I think it would be nice to do because we're here together. We're a bit of a community and we have the same sort of interest. And there should also be some togetherness, helping each other. So I would like to sing with you. I'm a singer in a gospel choir. I'm not really particularly religious, but I just like and the songs about joy and peace. And so I'd like to sing a gospel song with you. And I would like to rise. Yay! And this is a song that you can keep in mind whenever you are scared and you think, I want to go there, but I'm scared. And the song's called We Shall Overcome. It goes like, we do a bit gospel with the band, so it's a bit of a... Okay. I'll sing it once and then you sing along, okay? We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Thanks for the rhythm. Down in my heart. I do believe we shall overcome someday. Well, that's the whole thing. So, okay, yeah? 1, 2. No, we're going to do it together now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Down in my heart, I do believe we shall. 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 We shall overcome someday. Woo! Thanks for singing with me.
I don't even know if you finished, Judith.
I'm done.
Everybody, a big round of applause for Judith. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to me.
I loved everything you had to say, and I've already broken a rule because I didn't. Okay, let's start again. You have to. Yeah. Welcome. I loved everything you had to say until you went, and then you have to say something sensible. And I went, I'm so out. So thank you so much. We all, I'm sure, had something to learn there, absolutely, including me. So thank you very much. And for singing a joyous song. I didn't think I'd do it, but I was right there with you. So I'm very pleased. We now have another speaker. Our next guest is Tessa Meyer, and she is a filmmaker. She's a writer, she's a director, and she works with advertising, she works with video, right? An award-winning video? No, that's not a video. Which video did you make that was awarded? Music video? Mine Dear. I'm back in the room. And a fabulous film called The Walking Fish, which we're going to hear more about. But she's also the NL nomination for the Oscars this year. And Tessa will find out mid-December if her work has been selected for the shortlist. So fingers crossed, everybody. I want to see fingers in the air crossing. We're sending you the most positive of vibes. We want NL on that shortlist up on the screen at Oscars time. So really good luck there. To hear a different view on perspective, a different perspective of perspective, we're going to hear about the female gaze, of course, and Tessa's own personal viewpoint on that. Please welcome Tessa to the stage.
So, like this, right? No, I did it wrong. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here tonight. And I'd like to share with you the way I developed the way I look at women in film, including myself. And this changed a lot for me when I made The Walking Fish. So first, I'd like to share the teaser with you. Yeah. Thank you. So the walking fish I made last year together with Halal, but it took me a while to get to that point. And I never really thought of myself as becoming a director. When I was young, I did have a really big hobby, and that was winning things. So I used to go online and enter all these weird competitions. And one thing I won was the toilet air freshener from Ambipur. And another thing I won was a video camera. Not that one, but I like the dog, so I chose that one. And I started making videos. But before I get to that, I also had the hobby, and that was watching films. Those were the typical films that I like to watch. You might have seen some of them. And there was this particular storyline that I was very interested in, and that was, no matter if there are 10 things you hate about the guy, or you want to lose him in 10 days, you always end up together. And then there was this other type of film that I saw a lot at my house, and that was period dramas. My mother and sister used to watch them, and I didn't really like the way those films were. I don't know what it was, but the sensitivity of those women irritated me a bit. So after a while, I got interested in a different type of films, and also a different type of directors. And these were the people that directed those films. So, for example, Jim Henson, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, Alex van Warmerdam, Sergio Leone. I was really interested in the creativity that they showed, and also the way they used film in a different way than I had seen before. So when I started to make films, I was very inspired by these directors. My first film was a Western kind of film with a banana called Billy Banana. And Ennio Morricone did the soundtrack, although he doesn't know. It was followed by a sequel called Billy Banana Strikes Again, where he is chased by his lower half that has been cut off. It's still on YouTube, if you like. And then I continued to make films with actors, because it was such a small crew and cast, only me. It was me that was on screen. And as you might see, I was very much inspired by the work of Jim Henson, and also I wanted to look a bit like Amélie, so that's what I did. And then I went to art school, because I thought by making art, I can explore all the things that I'm interested in. I also thought that I could travel a lot as an artist, so that's what I did. But when I went to art school, the topics of my films started to get a bit more serious. Whereas when I was in high school, it would deal with themes like watching too much TV and becoming a TV yourself, or having to wake up at 7 a.m. and the strange morning rituals that you have to deal with. But when I was studying, I wanted to make something else, and I made a film called Immobile, which is about someone who is being watched all the time, but doesn't know how to really connect with people. Someone who's really looking for that connection, but is frozen in some kind of way. And instead of playing in it myself, I took an even worse actress, which was a dressing doll. And after that, I started. I thought maybe I have to use real actors in my next films, but the stories I was telling started to become more and more personal, but the characters I chose and that I was portraying started to look less and less like me. They were always younger or older, and most of the time, they were men. And I preferred to portray them when they were in their 50s or older. But why was that? That was also something that the Dutch Film Fund asked me, as well as the producer I was working with at the time. And the answer was, I just didn't think that a story about someone who looked like me would be interesting to make or interesting to tell. I also thought that by creating a character that is a bit more distant than from myself, I can tell something that is universal. But I also think now that it has something to do with the women that I had been seeing in movies, and maybe also with the directors that I was looking at all the time. So then, after graduating, I made a new film, and it was a coming-of-age story. But instead of telling a story about people my age, it was again men in their 50s. And this was a story about a family living in an old lopsided house with a mother and 3 sons. And sorry. I think this was not meant to happen, right, Judith? Yeah? Okay, where are we? Yeah. So when making this film, this is where I was. My producer asked me, what if we would swap the sexes? And my answer was, maybe we shouldn't. Because I thought the films I had been making so far, people had liked them, and they always admired the films for the atmosphere and for the great images that were in there. And as a director, that's the worst thing you can hear, like, oh, it's shot really well. Okay. Yeah, I wanted the audience to engage with the story and with the characters. And I thought by making something funny, people will open their hearts to the story and they can connect. So I chose to go for stereotypes. But although people liked the film, when it was finished, the Volkskrant wrote, the actors do what they can with their stereotypy characters. And then something else started, and it was the walking fish. When I started with this film, I got really intrigued by a fish called the Mutsugoro. And my producer then asked me, I wrote a lot of ideas about it, and one of them was where the fish would turn into a boy and have all these weird mating rituals to impress girls. But then my producer asked me, why this fish? What is your personal connection to this creature? And I started thinking, well, they look a bit like they're the missing link in evolution, like they want to be more than they are, and they want to explore the world. And that was when I recognized myself. I recognized not being happy with the way you look, wanting to evolve. I also recognized wanting to be perfect, wanting to be the perfect girlfriend. And I recognized working hard and finding it difficult to balance health and ambition. And that's when the story came together. And for the first time, actually, people started recognizing themselves too. For the first time, someone came up to me and said, I watched your film and I cried. And that's meaningful to me because after making The Walking Fish, I've made another film called Nervosa, which deals with the theme of an eating disorder. And by creating something that really comes from myself, I noticed that people can connect to it and start sharing their stories too. And it doesn't always have to be something as serious as an eating disorder. It can also be using one of your own fears and translating that in a comedy that makes people connect. So the thing I like to do is keep asking questions. When you look at a commercial, for example, or when you create something, what if we would swap the sexes? Do we have to change the whole story? Or can it just be as funny if the only thing that we change is the sex of the lead actor? Or do we need to change the whole location and the whole... I don't know if you've seen this one. Yeah. And another question is, why this fish? Or what is it that fascinates me so much about a certain topic? And how do I translate that into something else? How do I connect with other people? That was it. Thank you.
Tessa, thank you so much. Who has a question for Tessa? I'm sure there are many people. I'm going to walk this way. By the time I get there, somebody better have their hands up. Otherwise, I shall just... Oh, thank God. Hi, what's your name and where'd you come from? No, it's not a shouty shout place. It's a wait for the microphone and then speak into it place. Ooh, girl. What's your name, where'd you come from?
I thought I wasn't allowed the microphone.
Well, you're not.
Okay,
Really.
sorry.
I'll hold it.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lizzie, and I am from Northern Ireland. And I wanted to ask where you met this fish. How did you find it?
It was in Japan, actually. I was doing research there for another film that was about a volcano and a woman who were both on the verge of having this big eruption. And then, by accident, actually, I came across an artist in residency program that was specifically looking for Dutch artists. And in that region, there lived the Mutsugoros, so those fishes. Yeah.
And another question from this side. I'm not leaving until someone puts their hand up. Oh, thank goodness. What's your name and where'd you come from? No. Can you, somebody upstairs switch the microphone on downstairs, please?
1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah.
Like magic. What's your name? Where'd you come from?
Hi, I'm Mathilde. I'm from France. I have a question for you, Tessa, because Hi, nice to meet you. So you started your work by observing the characters of men because you thought it was more interesting. Now you're going into a fish that you encountered by accident.
Yeah.
But do you see a pattern in the stories that you want to tell? What do they have in common? Or is it completely accidental, actually?
I think, well, most of my stories seem to end with someone walking away from something. Which, no. I think it's always something that intrigues me in a way. That I want to know more about. So often it starts with an image. This time it was with the fish. But for the other example, when you saw the girl melting there, it started with an image in my head of people melting, and I just want to know more about that image. And that's how the stories start and grow. Yeah.
And who is it that you admire these days in terms of writers and directors?
It's more women now, actually.
Yeah, like who? Like who?
Like Alma Harel, for example. Julie Ducournau, a horror director.
And what is it about their work that you admire so much?
I think it's their own voice. That's also what I admired in the directors I admired first. It's their own voice and their own way of creating stories, creating universe.
Oh, hello. What's your name? Where'd you come from?
Hello, my name is Kika. I'm from half Spanish, half from Texas. And now here. I never know where to say I'm from. But now I'm really curious about your next story.
So my next story is actually the story I started with before I made The Walking Fish. So the woman and the volcano and the building tension that has to go somewhere. I'm developing that now as a feature film, but it's really in an early stage. And I just finished my first commercial together with Halal, and planning to do more in the future. Yeah.
Any more questions? Otherwise, there's a couple in the middle.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Lotte, and I'm just from Amsterdam. Thank you so much for sharing your personal story. I was wondering what brought the change, because, all of a sudden you realized what is missing from the movies is some kind of connection with myself. So what brought this change? Because it's so scary to make that move. So also applause to you for making that movie. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I think it was actually by making The Walking Fish. Because I didn't think that after that I would continue and making more films about women like me. With The Walking Fish, it was like, why not? Why couldn't it be a woman? And I wanted to challenge myself in that. But now it's because The Walking Fish has received, it really clicked with an audience more than my work did earlier. And I've also noticed it with Nervosa that it's really a good way of connecting with people. So, I think that was the switch, the replies from the audience.
And just one last question with Joe. What's your name and where'd you come from?
My name's Joe. I'm from the UK. Thanks, Carrie. Is there a story about somebody who keeps winning things that's to be told still? And how far that goes?
Wins a lot.
What was the answer, sorry?
Mutsumi wins several things in the film, but she gets bored every time she wins something, so then she wants to do something else.
So she walks away.
Yeah.
You sound like such a winner. We've got our fingers crossed for Oscars. Tessa Meyer, thank you so much. And now let's see how Malou de Bont does as she walks on stage. Features editor at Elle. Please give her a warm welcome. We're now going to use the chairs, unless you want to tap dance.
I'll let you wait a bit, and then I'll
Okay, I'm just going to sit here. Is that all right?
Hello. Yes. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Were you going to do a tap dance, or?
No, but I just wanted to wait until it was completely
Oh my God, let's do it again.
silent, yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
That was my mistake. I'm so not in the room.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big warm welcome to Malou de Bont.
Hello.
Oh! That was a killer. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
So, Malou, thank you. As you can see, we're chasing and changing it up a bit just to, keep it peppy. So please, bear with us. So thank you so much for coming out to play this evening.
Yeah.
I would love to hear, because you've done some great stuff in your professional life. And I know that you're, of course, features editor with Elle magazine.
Yeah.
You have a podcast, which I'd love to dig into. You've got a column. You do many great things. What is it about Elle? It's a two-part question. What is it about Elle that you love and that interests you? And what is it about Elle and yourself that makes you want to be part of, an evening about perspective and looking and SheSays?
Yeah. Yeah, so Maxime, she asked me last week, and I went to a SheSays event a couple of years ago, and you were the host, and you made me laugh like the whole evening. So I thought, let's do it for Carrie Finch.
Oh. Were you laughing at me or with me?
Well, we can discuss it at the bar later.
We'll take that offline.
And I thought like perspective is something I do in my
I have to deal with in my work a lot. So it felt legit to sit here and talk. And I like that it's free, so everybody can come. You don't have to have lots of money for tickets. So so I thought, let's sit here and talk. And the other question was L. Why L?
It was about why L?
Yeah. Well, so when I studied journalism in 2009, there were a lot of choices you can make. Like, do I want to do radio or magazine or newspaper? But there was one choice. Like, do I want to do hard news, which is the newspapers and stuff, or do I want to do soft journalism, which is magazines? And I really love the soft journalism magazines, and I listened to a podcast lately with the author of A Little Life, Hanya Yanagihara, and she summarized it in a very perfect way, what I love about magazines. She said, like, you have all these strange people coming together in the editorial staff of a magazine, and they're also intelligent in their own ways. Like, a fashion team sees the world in a very visual way, and then the art direction team sees it also very visually, but in another way. And then you have the writers, and they look at the world in yet another different perspective, and then you all work together on this one product. And I really love that about a magazine. And then from all the magazines, I think Elle is the most autonomous. Like, the woman that for me is Elle is like an autonomous woman, that she decides for herself, like, how she manages her life, and not like what's the default.
Because the L woman, as it is a particular perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, if I get it right, it's highly educated, prosperous, trend-setting, and fashion-conscious.
Yeah, she's a lot.
Aged. I was so in until age 25 to 39. She's a lot. She's a lot. She kicks ass.
Yeah.
How many specific of those do you have in your readership?
Yeah. Well, it's like, she's a lot, but she's not everything at once, and she doesn't have to be. I think it's like aspirational thing to. Yeah,
of course.
It's not very literally, I think, what we.
And how does that compare to other, the other major sort of fashion lifestyle titles out there? Whether it's Gentlewoman, Elle, Cosmopolitan, this particularly chimes with you. Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah, I think Gentlewoman is like also super autonomous and smart and stylish, but Gentlewoman is for a smaller audience. Yeah. I think Elle it's an international title, and it's a bit more commercial, and commercial also means that your audience is a bit bigger. So I adore Gentlewoman, but that's the difference between Elle and Gentlewoman. And maybe a good example for me, what really is Elle and what I love about Elle. We existed 30 years, and so we looked back a bit on older issues. And when you look at Elle in the 90s, then it's like 20 years ago. So you can really look back on, okay, how were we in time? Were we ahead? Were we just in time? Were we sort of falling behind? And it's more difficult to do it in real time. You can always, in hindsight, picture it better. And I laughed so hard about this one article. It was in an issue of 1994, and the internet was still really a thing where people were absolutely
winding it up.
Asking themselves, is internet a thing to stay, or is it a hype? Is it just a trend? And it was such a funny, like, a reportage of women that were emailing, and they were interviewed about why they emailed, with whom, if they did it in the morning or evening, what they even loved about it, if you could just also send a letter to someone.
Was it dirty? Was it like masturbation or something?
No, it wasn't dirty, because these women were leading their companies online already. So when I read that, I thought, like, yeah, this for me is Elle. Like, it's about fashion in these pages, and it's also about women
So how is Elle these days, do you think, changing perspective? How do you, because that must be hugely important to you, it's like the next step. How do you move forward? How do you influence the next generation? What is your perspective on that?
Well, I have within Elle, I think 3 places where I have influence on the perspective. And the first is the big interview in the issue. And it's 8 to 10 pages, and I do it for a year now. And when I started doing it, the first thing I wanted to change was the way we select our interviewees. Because up until then, we had a sort of unwritten rule that our interviewees had to be a very well-known, bekende Nederlander, famous in Holland. Celebrity. They had to be in the news, and they had to be like sort of young. So that meant usually...
What does sort of young mean?
Well, I'll come to it. That usually meant like that it was a presenter with a new TV show or an actress with a new movie. And we have a lot of nice, great presenters and actresses who are great women, but I do think they're like this super tiny slice of the society we live in, the interesting women we have. So I said to my editor-in-chief, Edine, I said, can I please select women that are authorities, either through experience or their professions or their studies, who do not necessarily have something new to say or sell, and who do also not necessarily are 40 years or younger. And she said, you have all the space like to select your own women. So that was great. I loved it that she said that to me. So I now at the last year I spoke to forecaster Liedewij Edelkoort, psychologist Esther Perel, writer Sheila Haiti, but also a cardiologist Harriet Verwij, who was 18 when she came here in the Netherlands with 1,000 gulden, 500 euros more or less of savings. She was super lonely. It was in the 70s or 80s, I think. She was super lonely. She was so lonely, she even felt it like physically. And she went off and became this cardiologist who was knighted and honored. And she just retired a couple of years ago. And there was a room like full of patients that wanted to say goodbye to their beloved doctor. So those women, like we need to interview them too.
Yeah.
So that's a sort of perspective I try to bring in the big issue, the big interview. And then I have this column, it's the bill, the rekening. And I ask women what they earn, how they spend it, what they have in their bank account, in their savings, but also how they were raised financially, how they look at their financial life. And I think still half of women are not economically independent. It's like a shocking figure. So I want to break open that conversation because there's lots of taboo of speaking about your money with friends, family, and such. And we are all like people with a bank account who pay for stuff daily. So
what's the most shocking thing that you've discovered in your interviews for the rekening?
The rekening. Personally, I found it shocking how some people were given like a ton of money, 100,000 euros. And then I asked in the beginning of the interview, like, and how did your parents help you financially in life? And they were like, no, I'm earning it all myself. And then I had to ask more and more and more. And then they are like, oh, by the way, the fact that I could buy my house was because of my parents giving me this. So, and then other women that were like paying all their stuff for themselves from when they were 14, 15. And also forgetting how special that is. So how people are not aware of the starting point financially sort of in life they were given.
And how did that change your perspective on finances and women and, the way that you write your column or perhaps source women for your column?
How do you mean?
Well, you know, you've got two very distinct perspectives there.
Yeah, yeah.
And they weren't necessarily aware of their own perspectives.
Yeah.
They were kind of blinkered to
Yeah.
it. So I find that fascinating for a start.
Yeah.
But how did that sort of inform your choice of who else to talk with in your column?
Yeah, well, I think what the most important for me is how I select my women is that it's from all different kinds of financial situations. So I also interview people that are on bijstand. So it's like
benefits.
Benefits. And also like women that are super rich, like in all the sort of tastes in between. And because in my belief, that is the way to get a bit more realistic view on finances of women. And we all have Instagram and we all see like people around us doing all sorts of stuff. And it's very... you can be very disillusioned, I think, sometimes, like, what do I do wrong? Or maybe, like, when you have all the money, you get a bit more begrip, like understanding for how it could also be. Like, there's no place where you can sort of read from people how the financial background of their life is, whereas with all the other stuff, you can sort of notice it. So I like to open that up. Like this is.
So you want to open up so that people are more aware, perhaps.
Yeah.
And this. Excuse me. Is that the point of the column? You know, what do you want people to get out of it? More insight.
Yeah, more insight and more insight in starting positions of people. Lessons also, like there are women that have done very smart things with their money and made savings on their own in these very smart ways. And it's just important, your financial life. So
and in terms of the big interview, who have you yet to interview that you'd love to meet?
I'd really love to interview Hanya Yana Kihara, the author of Little Life. And what I really love about her is she wrote this book, A Little Life, in Klein Leven, and it became this international bestseller. While it was an international bestseller with the readers, it was also like a success with the critics. Not all of them, but like many of them. And that's a combination you rarely get, that a book is like commercially successful and critically. And so everybody was sort of like, oh, you're a super successful author. You're gonna be an author for the rest of your life. And then she took a job as an editor-in-chief of T, a style magazine of the New York Times. And there were a lot of people that were like, how can you have the success and then you're going back to a pay slip and like in a corporate like
a wage job? Slave.
Yeah. And she has a lot of thoughts about that, how she thinks that's a wrong way to think and why style and culture, how she can everything she did in A Little Life, she can also do in T magazine. And what I really loved, and that's just a funny thing I love about her, when she got the job, she said like, okay, I'm going to do this job, but there are some eisen, like I never want to go to networking events in the evening or like PR stuff. I get in the office, I do what I love most, and I go home. But then she also has this friend where she gets do drinks with every Friday at the same time for I think 10 years, and so she's a very interesting, funny, super autonomous woman. So I'd really love to interview her.
Who's got her number? Anyone?
Yeah,
we need it.
But like with the, there's also like the podcast Mentorless.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that because that's, you know, podcasts I'm listening personally to more and more of them. Yeah. And actually I'm reading less and listening to more podcasts me too, since this year, which I think is really interesting because I was an avid ferocious reader, or voracious, or maybe both. So what is it about podcasts for you?
Yeah, I also really love podcasts, and I think it's a great way for people to go in depth into something, and it's more easy for people to listen, I think, lately than to read, maybe for some people, a piece. And in Mentorless, I interview women about their work. And what I usually see is when a woman has a career that's interesting and she gets interviewed, she becomes this sort of woman with a career. So her career is sort of being a woman with a career. And she gets questions about, do you have career advice? Do you, how do you believe in yourself? And then I think, no, this woman is good in something. Yeah. Ask her questions about that. So when in Mentorless, I spoke to a lawyer, Natasha Harleken. So I don't ask her tips for in court. I ask her what do you think about justice? What kind of developments do you see in your work happening? What do you think is underestimated in your work? So that podcast is very dear to me for that reason, because I think, or when it's a director of a museum, I ask her, okay, do you think art should be easy or difficult? What are the challenges you have as you have to go with men when they have an interesting career. It's never you're a man with an interesting career. Do you have tips for men that also want an interesting career? No, of course. How do you believe in yourself? No, he's good at something. Ask him for the things he's good in. Yeah.
I would love someone to do an interview like that. That would be so cool. So, Mr. CEO of a bank, tell us about your children. Yeah. So you're really we've talked about this before, you and I, that you're very interested in constantly being better, of course, like many people in the world. But you're interested in how to progress and improve yourself as an interviewer.
Yeah.
What to you is important about the art of interviewing? And so what resonates with you? What are you trying to achieve when you're doing that, apart from finding out about men and their kids?
Yeah. So I think for people who are not into journalism or don't do it as a job, they maybe think of an interviewer as someone who's out to get some sort of dirt, and they get it at a weak moment of their interviewee, or they want to get a scoop, and that makes a good interviewer. I think that's absolutely not what a good interviewer is. I think what a super good interviewer is, and what I try to be more and more, is when your job is to I do portrait interviews, to write who someone is or someone's life or choices in a super truthful way. And that usually doesn't mean that it's super rosy and everything's fairy tales. And it also doesn't mean that it's all shit and hard and somebody pulled themselves up from it's usually a mixture of those things. It's a life is usually misfortune and fortune, luck and hard work, things that went shit and are still shit, and things that are very happy in someone's life. And it's the same for a character. So somebody isn't always 100% good and isn't always 100% like this. People are good and bad at the same time usually. And I think when you write that down and get that in the most truthful way of how it really is, then people can relate to it, people sympathize with it, even if there are bad stuff about someone in it. And that's the best interview, the interviewee could wish for also. And we had this Dutch interviewer, Bibab. She is not alive anymore, but she was super good in it. She went to France at one point and spoke to Brigitte Bardot, and she went to America and she spoke with everyone over there too. And she was super good in this. And people were at one point actually very touched. And it's not that I want people to be touched, to be interviewed.
Because that can be inappropriate.
No. No. But it's like to say, like she was so good at it that people really, even if she wrote down non-flattering things about someone, they were very touched that she managed to capture a person in such a way that maybe no
there was
person,
light and shade.
Yeah. And to come to that point, you have to do, I think, two things as an interviewer. You have to make sure there's a sort of trust in the conversation. So that means you have to research, you have to research your interview like super thoroughly and well. So you know how to engage with your interviewee, and it shows you've done your homework and stuff, and the person needs to feel safe to talk. And at the same time, you have to be willing to ask the hard or tough questions. Yeah. So that's a sort of balance. And if you get that very well and you write it down very well, I think you're a very good interviewer. So we had this course a couple of weeks ago from a guest lecturer at our work. And one of the things he or she, I'm gonna not mention gender, said was, so before the big interview, it was more like marketing thing. You have to, you always have to get a scoop or a new news thing out of an interview. And I said, no way. I'm not going to go into an interview with that mindset. It's very old-fashioned, and it's not the way, I think, to do a very good interview.
That's interesting that is somebody that's teaching that kind of a course, and that actually your viewpoint is something entirely different.
Yeah.
So in terms of perspective and maybe changing your own or somebody else's, has there ever been a breakthrough moment for you or a breakthrough interview where you perhaps went in thinking one thing and came out thinking, okay, that's not what I was expecting?
Yeah, it was an interview with Liedewij Edelkort, and she's a forecaster. She is Dutch, but she lives in Paris for, I think, 30 years already. And when I spoke to her, I went to Paris to see her, and I had an hour with her, and I'd been emailing quite a long time to have her time because she travels all over the world. And well, I had 1 hour with her, and when I spoke to her, her husband, Anton Beke, she was with him for most part of her life, and he had just passed away, I think, half a year before we spoke. So that was something I knew, and I thought, I'm not going to ask about it, because she is such an interesting woman. She has so many things to say about the world we live in, the world we're going to live in, my generation, about fashion, the system, about sustainability, all the stuff. So the whole interview doesn't even need it. And then I sat there with her, and I gave everything in that hour, and I thought, okay, it was a good interview. And then she said, so I have to go to my next appointment, and it's actually the hairdresser. She dyes her hair for the same, like already 30 years or so too. And she said, do you want to go along with me? Because then we can still talk. I said, yes, of course. And in the end, we spoke for 3.5 hours. And we were also in the hairdresser. She was like with all the foil in her hair, and we were like her hair was washed, and then sometimes she said like, wait a minute, I can't hear you because like my hair is washed right now. And then we said like still, and then we talked again, and it was and she said super serious and smart stuff, while all these sort of things in her hair. And for me, it was such a special interview because at the end, when we walked back, I asked her like, when you were 25, you moved to Paris, and it was the same year that your dad passed away. How was that experience for you? And then she told me about, I was in that year, I had a lot of lovers, and so that was actually a very exciting year. And then she came to Anton Beke. She spoke about her morning and how that felt for her. And so in the end, it got in the interview, and then
it came very organically.
And I never had so many reactions on an interview of people telling how it was very helpful, her description of how that morning felt for her. Very funny also. She said, like, I want to write a book about it, and it's going to be called Morning Sickness. And so for me, it was a very special interview because it showed that you never have to go, you never must approach an interview with tricks, like marketing tricks or stuff. You have to be like genuinely interested in that woman, and it showed for me that people were interested in interviews that were not with presenters or actresses. So yeah, for me that was a very special interview.
And she clearly trusted you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has anybody in the audience got a question? We have microphones. Please put your hand up. What's your name and where'd you come from?
I'm from Amsterdam.
Sorry, your name is?
Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
From Amsterdam. First of all, thank you so much for speaking so eloquently about the great craft of journalism. And you clearly have great journalistic integrity. How do you think that we can protect and promote this craft in the age of product placement and Instagram influencers? How can people in future learn to do what you do?
Thank you for that question. I love it. The question. I think to protect the craft, we need to value time, I think. So doing a good interview, it costs time. And that sounds like a very simple answer, but it's actually, I also notice it when an international guest is coming here in Amsterdam, and then they organize the press event. And like an agent of an interviewee wants to have as much media coverage as possible. So usually they say you have half an hour, and that's it. And so we have these rules now with the big interview that it has to be 1.5 hours of conversation. And yeah, that's it. So we had to let guests go because we didn't got more than half an hour. And also time in the preparation. I've said I want at least a day, a full day to research. Yeah, so time, from a maker's perspective, time. And yeah, I'm thinking of things readers can do, but it's like not a reader's job. I think the interviewer has to do his job very good, so readers enjoy it and hopefully express they enjoy it and share it. And yeah, but I'm very much a fan of also the interview as a form, because I think it's a very important format to grow empathy with each other. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And one last question from the floor before we wrap up. What's your name and where'd you come from?
I'm Melody from Seattle.
Hello.
What is the name of your podcast, and is it in English or Dutch?
It's in Dutch, and it's called Mentorless.
Mental lessons.
Mentor lessons, yeah. And we are going to have some English guests maybe in the upcoming episodes. Yeah.
And just to wrap up, one last question, because we're very much running over time, but I've loved talking with you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
There's so many, but like, don't do a banana in your bag, it becomes brown.
Oh God, that's a great one. That is a great one. Always use one of those weird banana box things.
Yeah, and we don't have much time, right? So that's it, I think.
Bananas, never in your bag. Yeah. Marleen de Bond, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That may be my favorite piece of advice that anyone has ever mentioned. Okay, thank you everybody. Get back in the room. I think they're going for beer or peeing, whatever. Okay, so we have a final guest. Thank you for sticking in there with us. I know we're a little bit over, but you will be happy to have stuck around to hear from Selena Martin, who is a stylist coach, consultant, and she's the founder of her own company, Alter. So please welcome Selena on stage.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to start with pouring some water because I've been craving it since an hour ago. So, I hope you are all enjoying this evening as much as I am. I'm going to get the clicker, as I was told, and click. Hi. This is a photograph of me, but it was also a way to tell you what I am sharing this evening, and that is the power of clothing, the true power of clothing. As Carrie already mentioned, I am the founder of a style consultancy, from which I guide leading women, also men, but mostly women, in business, into seeing, experiencing, and embracing their full potential. In that cohesion, we use clothing as a reminder for your inner greatness, and of course also as the visual communication tool that it is. So I'm going to take you with me on sharing how you can use clothes as a communication tool, and also the non-visible, how do you say that in English? I'm not sure. The non-visual thing about clothes. Yes, let's get this going. I would like to start the evening with this quote, saying, "You constantly send out a message." And I think that's something that you need to be aware of, that you are constantly vibrating, sending out invisible signals that we all pick up. We can't see them with our own eyes, but we can feel them, and we get affected by them. And so this is a great way to start. Another thing that I would like to add is this notion that you are more than just your physical body. You have a vibration inside of you that's pouring and oozing out of you constantly and is affecting yourself and everyone around you. And then there's another thing. Then there's the outer layer. Clothes can help you to consciously send out the right message. So clothing is the outer layer reflecting your inner self and your core energy. And this way you can use your clothes to attract and reflect your future self. And your future self being the one you are becoming, the one you are striving to be, the one you are looking up to. And by dressing as this future version of yourself, you enhance your attraction and impact on others. And so now dressing up becomes this intuitive game of assembling a look that is in tune with your core being, with your mission, and with your message. And this is what I call a empower look. So not just a power look to impress anyone else, but an
empower look that gives you that inner kick of confidence and also enhances your appeal. In this way, clothes can work both ways, for you and for the receiver. So clothes are a visible tool to amplify your presence. And also a tool to, I'm so sorry. I already noticed it when I was sitting down, and I'm not really fit, and it's coming out as we speak. So bear with me. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. Yes. That's better. So, clothes are a visible tool to amplify your presence. It's about aligning your inner self and outer self, and using clothes to represent the future you, and to literally put this version of you, this future version of you on, so it can empower you and uplift you. So before we go to the second part of the talk, in which I brought some examples with me of two very inspiring ladies who have become the master of speaking to clothes. This is one quote: "Shed any false coats you have been given." This quote comes from a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's from Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I see some nodding, so yes, some of you have been reading it or have heard about it. And of course, this quote has a deeper meaning. But it's also for me tonight a quote to challenge you. Shed any false coats you have been given. And the challenge that goes with that is, I think not tonight, but probably this weekend. Make your way to your bedroom, or maybe even your walk-in closets, and open them up. Go stand before your closet. Have a look around. If there's any drawers, open them up. And then ask yourself a few questions. First one is this truly you or not? Do these items spark joy or not? Is anything that's hanging here chosen by you or for you? And by chosen for you, I mean things like the salesperson in the store who said it looks so nice, you should take it, and you did. But also, confirming and conforming yourself to the places that you are, especially the workplace. The workplace is a challenging environment in which you want to fit in, excel, and get the job done. And so these three factors have an influence on you, and especially if you are in the beginning, not even in the beginning of your career, but at the beginning of a new job, in a new company, in a new environment, and you're working on fitting in. So my challenge for you is to scan your wardrobe and see if what's in there actually represents you in the you that you are now, and even better so, does it represent the future you? Do the clothes inside your wardrobe show the women or men that you want to become? And then I would like to ask you to do one other thing. Get everything that does not spark joy, that does not show the true you, or that was chosen for you, not by you. Take it out. Don't throw it away immediately. Just take it out and see what's left. Put it in a box, the things that aren't working, that aren't speaking your language, that aren't singing your song. Put them in a box and store them for 2 weeks. And experience what happens when you only wear the clothes that empower you. And be very mindful. Keep your eyes and your hearts open. See what the difference in the reactions are from people that are around you. And also, of course, feel how it makes you grow and glow and shine. And this one is by me. It's becoming my life quote, I think. And it's radiate your inner lightning. And this is my personal invitation to you, all of you, to stop dimming your light. It is not necessary. You are so much more yourself, so much more attractive when you do so, when you do radiate your inner light. And so it's also a quote to hopefully inspire you to go big, to do stuff that's scary, and to live. And now to get back to the practical side of things. Today I brought 2 women with me, who I adore personally, and who are true masters of speaking through clothes and using clothes as a strategic tool, as a communication tool, as a way of speaking without having to speak. Starting with the queen of this gorgeous country, Queen Maxima, who is showcasing here flag dressing. Okay, so what's flag dressing? Flag dressing is that she has, and her husband, she also has a husband, he's the king, they have been invited to Poland. And so what does she do? She chooses, with her team, because she has a pretty big team, but she chooses to wear the national color, the color that is represented in the flag of Poland. And so this is a way for her to say thank you for inviting me without having to speak, just by wearing the national color. And this is something that she has been doing for a while now, because this is the dress that she wore during a very royal gala in Ireland. And so, of course, she chose the Irish green to say, thank you for the invite, I respect you, and this is my way of showing it. The pictures that you now see is Maxima on one of her days. And so the tip here is scan the grounds, or for all of us here, check your agenda. Know who you are meeting, know what you are bringing, also know what your goals are and what you want to achieve in that meeting or conversation, or I don't know where you're going to. And then make a conscious choice about what you are wearing and how that can help you represent yourself, but also represent maybe your company or your mission and message. And so she had 2 events on one day, and of course she has the opportunity to do a switch in between. But by doing so, okay, let's go back. You see the one that she's wearing, the burgundy, full burgundy one, and then here she's looking very royal. The first one, she has a meeting at the VU, which is a hospital here in Amsterdam. She's going to meet up with the scientists, have a talk, see what they were researching, and supporting them by going there. Then secondly, she was invited to present the Prix de Rome, a very important prize for artists. And what she does by scanning the grounds and switching outfits is not, instead of creating a distance, it's putting her closer to the people that she's meeting. So she's using her clothes to close the gap, because she's already the queen, so people are feeling the gap already. So she will deliberately use her clothes to close the gap, to be warm, and to be someone who feels as a normal person. Yes, also liking this one. This is something that she does. She, as a queen, of course, the budget is limitless. Yeah. But also she wants to be an inspiration for all women, young women of all ages, at the beginning, middle, of end of their career, and to inspire them and to show them that a representative look does not always have to cost a lot of money. And so these both looks are from Zara. And then there's another woman. It's Meghan Markle, who is now, of course, a princess. And why I brought her tonight is because Meghan shifted spotlights from being an actress to now being someone of a royal family, which is really complicated. And she did something that is very smart, and that's something that you could also develop for yourself. She developed a signature style. She chose one look that suits her well and that represents her in a good way. She chose the trench coat or the trench dress. And she has been wearing it on several occasions, slightly different colors, but staying true to herself and the look that she chose. Now something happened. She got pregnant, the baby was born, and then, as the royal family always have, they have the presenting of the baby moment. And now this is what she did. And there's a very, I was very inspired by this choice. Why? First of all, she stuck to her own plan by staying true to her signature look, which is the trench dress, but also by choosing this dress at this moment in time, she is also showcasing her postpartum body. And that's something very new, to be showing so publicly the true shape of a woman's body just after giving birth. Usually they would go with something more flattering, or even hiding it, or, well, anything to cover it up a bit. But then they went with white. The belt is twisted up here, so it actually emphasizes the still remaining recovering belly. And this, I felt, was a really strong example of how you can also use your clothes to make a statement about something that's important to you. And so to be closing it, because I know we are running out of time, I want to give you this last thing, which is clothing gives you a head start. So just take that home with you, be aware of it, make a conscious choice every morning, keeping in mind how you are feeling, what you are sending out, who you are meeting, and let your clothes help you do the talking. I think, Carrie, that you wanted to also give the audience the possibility to ask some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you wrapped up?
Yeah.
Selena, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Selena. And a brilliant job of feeling sick and then bringing it back. We've all been there. I did that about 2 months ago, so
okay.
No, I totally get it. Who's got a question from the front? Oh, so many hands. Anybody over here before I have to move my body? Somebody had hands up. There's one. Hi, what's your name and where'd you come from?
Hey, I'm Carmen and I'm from Romania.
Oh.
Sorry, you beat her. You won. Continue.
Yo. You said at one point that you open your wardrobe and you're trying to see which clothes are representing yourself.
Yeah.
How do you actually know who you are? Because every day we are a different person and we are different actors. So you got my question.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think as we develop, as we grow, we get to know ourselves a little bit better. So this is an ongoing thing until we die, I think. I also hope that that's the truth. So I think the key in this is, so you can successfully take on my challenge, is to get a view on who it is that you are moving towards. So by visualizing your future self, maybe that can help you then know which items in your closet are representative of her and of you. Yes, I would say that's the quickest answer I can give.
Hello, hi. I'm Tiffany, I'm from Canada, and you talk about finding clothes that represent your true self, but what if your true self is sweatpants? I usually have I always want to be comfortable, but I also find that professionally I want to dress a bit nicer. You see outfits in the magazines and you see other women and they're so put together, but at my core I want to be in sweatpants. How do I push myself?
That's a good question. I think feeling comfortable in anything that you are wearing is a #1 priority at all times. And yes, so the place where you are or where you need to go or your workplace in this particular thing is something to take into account, of course. But I do think that do you know who Marie Kondo is?
Oh my God, of course we do.
Yes, okay, well, thank you for that. And this key question that she brought into this life is, does it spark joy? And it's a very profound question to ask yourself and also to apply to not only stuff, but also clothes. And I think that it is way more important how you feel and what clothes can do for you. And then after that, the communication starts. So would I recommend you to go to work in sweatpants? Probably not. But
you can come and work with me in sweatpants.
But I would definitely always recommend you to wear something that feels totally safe, comfortable, and empowering to you. Yes.
Nice answer. One last question. Oh, right in the middle. What's your name and where did you come from?
I'm Paola, I'm from Italy.
I love this international.
So thank you for the talk, but don't you think it's a bit unfair, the pressure that we put on women? And I understand this is an evening for mainly women, so maybe you selected the two examples because of that.
Yeah.
However, the importance of clothing in women is way higher than the one for men. And men, you know, whatever they put a jacket and they're done, you know, like, and whatever message they want to give, it's fine, it's received or somehow. While women have to think about the flag of the states they go and you know, if they want to be in sweatpants or not. Don't you think it's a bit unfair?
I can hear what you're saying.
Basically, why do women have to try so freaking hard and wear the flag of every country they visit, and men turn up in sweatpants and it doesn't matter?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm laughing about your question. It's very good. I think to bust the bubble a little bit, it's not entirely true that men don't care or that they don't have the same issues as women. In that point, if you look at men in politics, for instance, they do exactly the same thing, using their ties, the color of their blazer, and stuff like that. So one of the reasons I also chose these two ladies is because, and that's, I don't know if I can say that, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think we as women also just like playing with how we look, and besides having the fun element in there, also becoming more and more aware about how we can actually use those things strategically to send out messages about stuff that we think it's important. So, so yes, I think that would be my answer.
Finally, just as a wrap-up question, apart from bananas not going in bags, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Wow. Let's see. That's a hard question.
Why don't we take that one to the bar?
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you. Well, let's give a very warm thank you to Selena. Thank you so much. Thank you. Watch me not talk as I walk on. Thank you, everybody. Oh, you see, no clapping or anything. Yeah. Too little, too late, whatever. So thank you to all our speakers, all our guests, Judith, Malu, Selena, Tessa. It's been great to hear from you. I know we've overrun, so apologies. I want to thank Pakhuis and Zwijger, and particularly Ilse. They give us the room for free because they believe in this project. So a big shout out to them. And a very big shout out to the SheSays team, which is the Future Factor team, which is Irene, Maxime, who's actually gone home to a Moroccan wedding. Apparently it starts at 10. Who knew? And Kate up there. Thank you all especially for coming. I know it's a Friday night, but we do have a bar downstairs. So I suggest we all pester Selena and ask her what's the best piece of advice she's ever been given down there. Thank you to everyone who's bothered to come, as I said. And social media. Apparently it's a thing. Use it. Good night.